Hey guys, Stanky here. I'm excited to bring you my first hero guide. I chose to do Death Prophet because of her buffs that she received in 6.86, and I'm not really seeing a lot of her in matchmaking, and I decided to give her a go, and I found that she was really strong, at least in my games. She had a bit of a showing in Star Ladder and sort of fell off a bit towards the end, but for a while there she was looking really strong, and I think that she really is a hero that needs to be explored more. I've been having a lot of success, as I said, and I've been climbing a little bit with her, and I'm even with only a few games, I've managed to crack in the top sort of 200 ranking with her. So she's quite a fun hero to play. So I've gone through a lot of stuff here. Some of it will only be relevant to newer players, and some of it will still be, I think, useful to people who've been playing the game for a while. I did a fair bit of research on mechanics and stuff with her as well. So if you're new and want to watch the basic stuff, like the basic skill overview and skill builds, you can go to those, or you can watch the whole video. If you wanted to skip ahead to like advanced mechanics and interactions, I've got annotations to all the stuff, either on the screen or in the description. And then there's item build choices, and then I've got some examples from some of my gameplay. Don't judge me too harsh, but I've got some clips from like laning phase, early game, mid game, and late game, and sort of I'm going to go over what you should be aiming to do in each of those phases of the game with some examples. So check it out. If you appreciate this and want to see more of these kind of things, then give us some feedback and maybe some likes, and motivate me to do some more of these. Cheers. So I'm just going to go over Death Prophet's basic spells now. So her Q is called Crypt Swarm. It's a magical damage spell, so therefore it's blocked by BKB, Magical Immunity. It does 75 damage at level 1, scaling up to 300 damage at max level. It slightly reduces its cooldown on each level and increases in mana cost. Its cast range is actually 600, even though it says range is 810. That's 810 is the distance that the actual projectile travels, and then it can hit units up to 110 range away, because at the end of that 800 range it forms out in a cone at 300 range after that, so it can actually go 1100 range from where your hero is standing, which is important to know, because if you're standing in lane and you want to cast it on the enemy hero, you don't want to just click on them, even though you can, because you can actually cast it from further back. Also, if you're clicking on an enemy, it will sometimes not work. So if they're about to leave your range, it'll sort of follow, see, and sort of chase the unit there before it actually casts. And if it goes out of your vision, then it'll just cancel your cast completely. So it's generally not recommended to click on the unit when you want to use your Q. So her next spell is her W. It's Silence. It's a pretty generic silence spell, except it's AoE, so you can cast from that far, which is 900 range. It goes in a 425 radius, and silences everyone in that area. So it's important to know, even though it's a 900 range, that's where the middle of your cursor is. So if you click there, you can actually still cast the silence past where your the 900 range. Cast it. What's that? Another 200 range on top of that. So you can cast silence from a reasonably far distance, and then obviously that gets even bigger with things like Aether Lens. You can be silencing from Africa. And then Spirit Siphon, this is, her silence also is just normal silence that can be broken by Diffusal, Lincoln's, Diffusal, Manta, and BKB, that sort of thing. Spirit Siphon is her new spell, which is where things really sort of start to get interesting. I'm going to go over a lot more of the advanced mechanics of Spirit Siphon later in the video, or just after this, but for now the basics of it is that it's a pure damage spell, not magical, which means it ignores magical resistance, which makes it good against heroes, like Anti-Mage or Ember Spirit, who have mana, who have magical absorption. And it does a 20 base damage per second, plus 1 to up to 4% at max level of their max health, and that damage is also stolen to your hero. So at level 4, I worked out for like a 750 health hero, so like, level 6, 7 average-ish, it'll do 250 damage, so that'll steal that to your hero as well. And then it also casts a slow. I'll show you what it looks like. It slows the unit as well by 5% at level 1 up to 20% at level 4. So it'll you'll see him moving slower than his compatriots, and the slow is really useful, but also there's 4 charges, so I can cast one on him and one on this guy as well, and have 2 going at the same time. And at level 4, you can have 4. So you can be pumping out a lot of damage and stealing a lot of life at the same time. It works on other charge spells, so it takes 45 seconds to recharge each Spirit Siphon charge, which you can see on your little buff bar there. The mana cost slightly reduces with each level, and this can pierce through BKB, so I'll talk more about that in the advanced mechanics. Yeah, that's about it for the other thing is that its acquisition range, so it's got a 500 cast range, and then it'll break at 800 units, so if I blink up here it'll break, or if they just get out of range and they start running away, it'll stop before its 5-second duration. So you have to stay close enough to the hero. So her ultimate's called Exorcism. It spawns a bunch of ghosts around your hero that start flying and randomly picking up a target. If you start attacking a particular unit or hero, it'll focus on that unit completely. But if you stop attacking, it'll start attacking units at random again. So it's important to know that you can target that spell if you want to. It does physical damage, which means that armor reduction works well with Death Prophet. So heroes like Dazzle, Slider, that sort of thing, synergize well with their ultimate, and items like Assault Curious. But also building armor against the Death Prophet's also a good counter to her ulti. At the end, they return to her and they heal based on the percentage of damage that was done during the ultimate. So if you do no damage, you actually don't heal for anything. It does 25% of the damage that it does. It will heal you for. So I just wanted to go over sort of some basic skill builds for Death Prophet and talk about the situations in which you would vary the skill build. Normally you end up going either the Spirit Siphon or Crypt Swarm first, just about always, but you want to hold your points at the start, just like you would on pretty much every hero, because you often will want Spirit Siphon for the rune fight, because you can slow a hero and potentially get a kill on it, and Spirit Siphon level 1's just like disgustingly strong. If you don't get that, Crypt Swarm is an option if you're going to be not able to be aggressive in your lane and use your Spirit Siphon and hit the hero a few times if that's like too dangerous in the particular matchup that you're in, or if you've got other heroes that are like zoning you, then you might want to opt for something like Crypt Swarm so that you can sort of trade getting last hits with it and trying to get some harass damage on the hero. But the Spirit Siphon and your Crypt Swarm are definitely the ones you want to be getting at levels sort of 1 to 5. So you're normally going to go 2 in each at level 4, and then level 5, depending on your lane, yet again. There has been a lot of opting for maxing Spirit Siphon, but I don't think it's right in every matchup. If you're against like say a Lena and you're quite low health and she's been harassing you a lot and you're sort of having to sit back in lane and you're not at the point where you can go and run at her and sort of bully the hero out of the lane, then you probably want to be going points in Crypt Swarm over your Spirit Siphon. But if you're against an Invoker or whatever and you're winning the lane and you can bully them and you can be aggressively positioned, and whenever they come up to the lane you can push them out, then you can be putting your next point in Spirit Siphon and trying to use that as much as possible. Level 6, I go ultimate sometimes if I'm gonna go for a kill on a hero, or if I'm gonna look for a team fight with a rune or something. If I'm going to go pick up a haste or an invis and I want to go gank at level 6, you often want to pick it up then. Otherwise you can just continue to max your Q and E, so you could go something like that and pick up your ultimate when you need it, say level 7 or 8. And then sometimes I'll actually go silence before I max Crypt Swarm, depending on the heroes they have obviously, and where the silence is going to be quite useful. If they're starting to group up and look to push you and you're going to have some early engagements, you probably want to have a point in silence, because 1 point in silence is so much value. You get the 3 seconds and of silence, and it doesn't really scale all that well. So you get 6 seconds at level 4, which is still a huge benefit, but that level 1 point is really really valuable. And then you get your ulti whenever you can, level 11, 16. And I normally max my silence, even though, like I say, it doesn't scale particularly well. It still is good to have that 6 seconds compared to 3. But yeah, that's the basic skill build for Death Prophet. I know it's not particularly straightforward, but I just, nothing's set in stone, and it's using people who tell you there's a cookie cutter build for every game isn't. I don't think they're always correct with that. So I wanted to go over some of the more advanced mechanics to do with Death Prophet and some of her interactions with other heroes. Her Crypt Swarm and Silence are both reasonably unexciting with regards to advanced mechanics. I guess the main things are that they work with some of the commonly built items like Aether Lens and Octarine Core, so not only reducing the cooldown but also steals life with Crypt Swarm and reduces its cooldown to a crazy 3.75 seconds. But also the cast range on Silence gets pretty huge and is actually it's bigger than blink range. So if you've got an Earthshaker or something that you can see coming in and is about to blink ulti you can get a Silence off on him before he gets that, or just you can use it in team fights to actually hit supports like Dazzles or in the back line, Rubik's, that sort of thing. But yeah, you can also use the Crypt Swarm to just steal a crazy amount of health in team fights, or to quickly push out waves or defend high ground. And Aether Lens increases Crypt Swarm's range as well. What I really want to talk about is Spirit Siphon, because that's where things really start to get interesting. As I said earlier, it does go through BKB, but the interesting thing is that if you use it on a target that's already BKB'd, the movement slow still applies, and if you use it and then you BKB, they go back to normal movement speed. So if he's still BKB'd and I cast it on him, it does drop down to 274. It's interesting. It works the same with spin, obviously. So if he's not spinning, I cast it on him, and he's at 274. He can spin, go to 305. But then if I cast it again, he's back to 274. Yeah. So it's just something to keep in mind. You really want to wait until they BKB to use it if possible, or if they do use BKB, you can reuse it again to slow them. The other thing is that it gives you vision of heroes that are shadow bladed, so or in invis. So you can cast it on him here and he'll go invisible, but now I can't attack him, or I can't use like Yules on him or anything like that. When he reveals himself, I'll show you another interaction. It does give vision of units, even if they move into fog. So if I cast it on him here and then I run him around, it'll give vision of him in that area. But it goes away. So it's really good for chasing people through, trees and that sort of thing, kiting, that are trying to kite you. The next thing is that its damage and lifesteal are independent from each other. So if I go to use Spirit Siphon on this anti-mage who's pretty tanky and then Yules him, he won't take any damage from it, but I'll still lifesteal. So if I use it, Yules him, he's not taking any damage, but I'm still healing in that time. So it's useful to know. Also, it doesn't break Spirit Siphon to Yules someone, so sometimes it's a useful way to heal up while you're still chasing down an enemy, if you've still got multiple charges of Spirit Siphon. You can cast it on other units in the game, cast it on neutral creeps, and obviously lane creeps, but you can't cast it on Roche. That just gives you an error. So Octarine is interesting. Octarine works on the hero with all his spells and does show the reduced, does show the reduced cooldown for all the other spells except for Spirit Siphon. And in the recent update they changed Octarine to work with these spells that have a charge, like Ember Spirit Ultimate and that sort of thing. So it should work with Spirit Siphon, and when you when the tooltip doesn't change, it sort of got me confused. But I tested it and it still does actually work. So it does reduce the charge restore time down to 33 seconds from 45, even though it doesn't show it. Obviously, the reason people build Octarine Core is because you can sort of double up on the amount of life steal that you're stealing with your spells, but and as well as reducing the cooldowns of everything. So Lincoln's blocks Spirit Siphon, as you'd imagine, because it's a targetable spell, and Lotus Orb works normally, but if you use it, it actually will damage the hero who has more health while not damaging the other. So this anti-mage will still actually take damage from me, even though it's reflecting, because he's got a higher HP pool and it works on percentage damage. So even though we're both sort of sucking each other off, as you'd say, only one person gets damaged. This TA has less health than me, so does she? So I should actually be taking damage. Yeah, I think I took a little more than her, but the difference is a little less noticeable than with 5,000 compared to 800. So the damage is actually not applied over a second per second basis. It's applied 4 times a second. So with someone like TA who has refraction, you can remove all those charges pretty much instantly. They're just disappearing. So it's a pretty strong counter to TA and lane, unfortunately for me, because I love me some TA. And even at level 1, it does this as well. Even though the damage is 20 divided by plus like 0.25%, so it's 5 damage plus 0.25 of their total health. Even it works out at about 6 or so for most heroes, but because it's pure damage, it doesn't drop below that threshold of 5 that it needs to be to ignore instances. If you don't know how TA's Q works, if she takes less than 5 damage, it doesn't actually remove refraction. So this does 6 damage or more instances, so it always removes it. The last thing is with Aetherlens, not only the cast range is increased, but also the break range. So it goes from 500 cast range and 800 break to 700 cast range and 1000 break. So it's really useful when you're trying to chase down I'll use the hero that's not going to die. All vision? Is that? Yeah. So if I am trying to catch up to him, I can cast from there, and then he won't actually break it for a lot longer than normal as well. So now a few advanced mechanics to do with her ultimate, Exorcism. So the spirits spawn at 0.35 second intervals, 0.3 second intervals. So they take at level 1, 2.4 seconds, level 2, 4.8, and level 3, 7.2 seconds to actually release all the spirits, which is actually quite a long time, and I know everyone knows this, but something that I didn't mention in the basic spells is that it does do damage to buildings, and reasonably significant amounts too. It will find units in fog, as you just saw there, which is a pretty cool interaction, but it won't find units in fog if they're invisible. It also just works like a normal attack, so it can hit things like Raster Wards, but it won't automatically acquire some of these things. There's a lot of sort of specific interactions like Tombstone, that sort of thing. It won't auto-target those, but you can make it target them. And then there's some things that you can attack that they won't do any damage to, so like Cogs is an example of that. There's 4 that Cogs, Nether Ward, Frozen Sigil, and the Swarm Beetles from Weaver, so it won't actually damage any of those, so can't help you get out of Cogs, unfortunately. And also because it's not a normal attack, things like Evasion don't work, and it doesn't get blocked by Damage Block, which it says in the tooltip. It doesn't get blocked by Vanguard, that sort of thing. And it also doesn't break Tranquils, which is interesting for trying to chase down a Tranquil support or something. It has a 700 acquisition range, so it'll find units within 700, but it'll chase them out to 1200. So it's actually got a reasonably long chase range, and they move at 500 move speed. So if the unit is hasted, they can actually outrun your spirits. But 500's pretty high. And you do see some people building refresher on this hero, but the refresh doesn't work like some other ultimates in the game. Like Razors, you can't actually double ultimate with exorcism. It just restarts the whole thing again. Something else interesting as well is that how it releases all these spirits over whatever 7 seconds depending on the level. If you TP to a tower, well actually that's not 2000 range, so that might not work. Yeah, it does. If you move more than 2000 range away, all your spirits have to sort of start coming out again one by one. So it's useful to know if you're TPing back to a tower or if you get like glimpsed or something. Your spirits take a bit of time to reappear again. So I'm just going to go over the item builds now for Death Prophet. I normally like to start off with shared tangos. We just pretend those are shared tangos for now. And I normally just go and null in either 2 Fairy Fires or a Fairy Fire and an Ironwood Branch. The Ironwood Branch can be quite useful if you need that little extra bit of regen before you get your bottle from one of your tangos. You can just drop the tree and eat it. Otherwise, if you don't need that, then you just get a bit of extra, like 1 extra stat for the lane. But the Fairy Fires can be really useful, just giving you really high attack damage with the null and 2 Fairy Fires can really make your last hitting a lot easier, and then they help you obviously if you're trying to get in those early fights. If you're pushing the tempo with Spirit Siphon, going for kills early, they can really help you make sure you don't die. And then work your way into bottle, get that as quick as you can, and then boots. And then here I normally go for wand, so you use one of the Fairy Fires, grab one of them, and then this is where you can either choose, this is where you get your first decision. You got to decide on between phase boots, or what I've been going is arcane boots. I've seen a little bit of power treads in pro games when they're playing against like leaners and sort of high nuking heroes, and that's definitely worth considering as well. But I think phase boots are worth going on this hero as well. They used to be very, very commonly built on the hero. Since the recent buff to phase boots, you can now use phase boots to go in and catch a hero and then use your Spirit Siphon and it's still active. It used to cancel when you used spells, so that makes a huge difference. So you can use your phase boots to catch them if they're running away and then slow them down with your Spirit Siphon. So that's definitely worth doing. But the attack damage doesn't really synergize with the hero. It's only good in laning phase in my opinion, and then after that it's the movement speed that's really helpful. So if you're winning your lane and you want to just really snowball that and just be able to continuously bully them out of lane, then phase boots is good. Otherwise, and also the other thing to consider is how much mana regen you have on your team. So if you have other heroes that are only building arcane boots when you're doing group pushes, or if you have the Crystal Maiden or something on your team, then you probably want to look towards the phase boots. But otherwise, I think arcane boots is really good. Arcane boots helps you just sustain your mana for pushing lanes and also for group pushes. Like, it's not just for you, right? It also helps for your team. If your playstyle on D-Pro is going to be looking to take objectives when your ulti's up and grouping up, it's really useful to have arcane boots to keep your team's mana topped off. But also, the reason I like it is because it builds into Aether Lens, which is an item that I really like on the hero, and I've seen picked up a little bit in pro games, but I think it's really strong against particular lineups. But in general, it's just it synergizes really well with Death Prophet's spells and playstyle. But I don't go it straight away. I normally recommend going for arcane boots and then looking to go from there into your Yules. So you can either go Sage's Mask straight away, and then maybe trade that out for Voidstone if you're just needing the regen, or for the Staff of Wizardry, just depending on how your mana situation is going. But work your way into your Yules, and then after that you can go back to finish off your Aether Lens. You may want to pick up the cloak, or you may want to go Aether Lens early if you're against something, some particularly high magic damage and you want to get the cloak resistance. But otherwise, you can just buy the components of it, disassemble your boots, and then pick up your Aether Lens, which is now not going to work, obviously, so I'll just sell them and buy it. I don't know why it's not working, just to do with this demo mode, I guess. And then you've got these back to these items again, and then at this point you can either remake your mana boots, and then work into your Octarine from there. Build the rest by the other pieces of your Octarine, then disassemble, well, I guess the other pieces of your Soul Booster, and then disassemble, make the Soul Booster, get your Mystic Stuff, and then have your Octarine. Or at this point, if I'm quite far ahead, I opt to go straight for Boots of Travel here. Boots of Travel have huge movement speed, which again is really useful with this hero. It synergizes with the hero really well. Like the movement speed bonuses from Yules and from your boots, and just having the slow from your E. You want to be very mobile and being able to slow the enemy team and get around fights and position yourself well. And phase boots just allows you to push out. We can't see the lanes in this game, but allows you to push out lanes and push one side of the map, defend others, and really sort of increase your farm. And then after phase, then I'll go back for Octarine. After that, and these are sort of the core items I'd say on Death Prophet, probably minus the Aether Lens, but I really do like the Aether Lens. I'll talk quickly about why these other items are really valuable in this hero. So yours is really good because in mid-game fights, if you're coming into like running into a Sven or some sort of targetable stun, you can dodge it with Yule Scepter, because Death Prophet's main weakness is getting nuked down. So if you get ganked, you can get off a few Spirit Siphons on the heroes that are close to you, then Yules yourself to dodge a spell. They're getting fully damaged that whole time that you're Yulesed up. You can dodge spells with it, and then when you come back down, you can look for a Equip Swarm or a Silence. Or if you can get your ultimate off as well before the fight breaks out, then you can ulti and then your ultimate will still continue to do damage to them while you're Yulesed. So it's both an offensive and defensive spell. You can also use it for catching. You can chase down a hero, pick them up, and then look to silence them as they land. I don't have silence skilled, but you can Yules into silence if you get your timing right, and that's really useful. And also just the movement speed, and gives you that nice mana regen too, so it's a really useful item on Death Prophet, pretty core. The Aether Lens works really well. I talked a little bit about this earlier in the advanced mechanics area, but the silence range is just monstrous. You can pick up heroes that are in the back of fights, and if you use this early on in fights, I think that's how it's most effective. If you've got cores up in the front of the fight, and you've got some like Bristlepacks or whatever, you got some cores that you want to silence, you can silence, like Jug's really popular at the moment, you can get silence off on him after spin before he wants to ulti, or if you time it well after his ulti sometimes, you can get it before they spin if they're not expecting it. But you can just really nullify these heroes. Also, Invoker's hugely popular at the moment, and I think that's why I have a lot of success with D-Pro. I find I beat him mid lane, and during the mid game, you can stop him ghost walking away, you can break his combos, so if he tries to Yules you, then into your combo, you can just Yules yourself again, or if he Yules to somebody else and he's about to combo them, then you can just drop a silence on him, or a Yules, but silence is really useful, and you can just Spirit Siphon him and start killing him. But yeah, when you've got this kind of a range, you can really do some damage in team fights. Also, Pudge is huge at the moment. Pudge gets a hook. Say he hooks your teammate over here, you can just drop a silence and then you break his ultimate. He works. It's such a useful spell, and having the increased range on it is really important. And I've already talked about Spirit Siphon getting the increased leash range and also an increased break range, which is huge for that spell. So if someone's running away, having that little bit of extra range to catch them with is really useful. Also, the Aether Lens works with your Yules, so you can Yules from further away, which was being talked about in some of the pro games recently with D-Pro. I know Gods was talking about it. I can't remember who was playing the hero, but it's definitely shows up. It's not just like a bonus thing. It's very useful. The amount of times that you'll get an extra range Yules definitely is noticeable. Yeah, and extra range on Equip Swarm was okay, but I like it mostly for the other two spells. Also, the bonus damage works with everything, so this is actually spell damage amplification. It's not magic damage amplification, so even though she's got pure damage and she's got physical damage on her other spells, it actually works with all of them, so it does increase exorcism damage, which is really good. Increases your Spirit Siphon, everything, and because this is pure damage, it's just a straight 8% increase, so you're not worrying about reductions and that sort of thing. It's really useful for boosting Spirit Siphon damage. And also, if it's boosting that damage, I haven't tested this, but I think it would increase the amount of life that you would steal as well. so it's a double sort of use. And then spell resistance is just nice for tanking the hero up a bit, stopping her getting blown up by spells. And then after that, you've got a couple of, like, it gets pretty varied, right? You've got a lot of items you can build at this point to finish the game off. There's like items like BKB. Shiva's is really good on her. It gives her, she's got low armor, and it gives her a big buff to armor, and the slow aura, the like attack speed slow aura is really useful. It's just very good team fight item and very anti getting her blown up by physical damage calls. Other options that are useful are Skadi. Skadi is really good because with your against heroes like Pudge, you can look to spirits, or not Pudge, other like Juggernaut, or Pudge as well, but heroes that build BKB, melee cores, you can drop a Spirit Siphon on them, right click them a little bit, and they just become slow, useless, kiteable, easy to manage heroes. And it just helps tank up the hero as well. You get a little bit more right clicky when you're able to drop Spirit Siphons and just fight people straight on. Other items that are good, Hex. Heart used to get built a lot. I think if you're going to go Heart, I think this, like now, I'd probably just go Skadi. I guess if you're siege pushing, like Heart's a bit more useful, but Deeper is not a very good siege pusher anyway, because once you have to commit her ultimate, you can't really continue to push after that. Then AC is the other big one. So AC is a nice armor buff for her, and helps a bit out with her attack speed, and like just physical right click damage for like the later game when you want to still be able to fight with your ulti down, or just make yourself a little bit stronger in the right click, and also it helps obviously with your team as well if you don't have an AC builder on the team. But also the big benefit is it makes your ultimate hit harder. The armor reduction aura increases the damage from your ulti and helps for breaking high ground and that sort of thing. And Octarine Core, I forgot to mention earlier, but Octarine Core is just been picked up constantly on this hero. It's sort of similar to Leshrac, a lot of sort of low cooldown spells and a lot of high spell damage that you can use to steal and keep yourself up, and also because you want to be in the middle of team fights all the time, it just helps you stay alive. And the cooldown, as I talked about in the advanced mechanics, now works on Spirit Siphon charges, which makes it beneficial. And a big weakness of Death Prophet is the fact that her ultimate has a really long cooldown. But if you have Octarine Core, it really helps with that situation. So 145 down to 108, and yeah, you've got activatable items as well. Octarine works on that too. But yeah, bunch of castable spells, and the fact that you want to be in the middle of team fights, life stealing, and synergize really with Spirit Siphon is just all around good item for Death Prophet. Helps you live through those mid game team fights. But it does have a really big build up, and that's why I sort of often like going the travels before Octarine. Even though it's so strong, sometimes it can be quite hard to farm it. And if you go travs, it can really help you in the mid game sort of secure that mid game farm, and keep all your lanes pushed out, and just allow you to farm that Octarine well. But yeah, that's the item builds. So this is the laning phase of the video. I'm going to be going through the stuff that you should be trying to do in sort of the first 5-7 minutes of the game in the laning phase with Depro. And this is just the sort of starting build that I normally go and try to get out to the runes quickly so that you can pick up the bounty rune. Hold your skill points, as I said earlier, but you can often go Spirit Siphon if you need to get that early kill, but it's just worth hanging on to it in case you don't want it for lane. Obviously the normal sort of mid laning stuff applies, like you've got a good spammable wave clear, so you can use that to push your lanes out, and then go get the runes at the 2 and 4 minute marks, etc. But the specific stuff to this hero is what I'm going to try to cover here. So you can use Spirit Siphon aggressively when they come up to you like this, and you can also do it at level 1 if you have Spirit Siphon and you have a hero that can't trade with you very well, which is most heroes. You can just chuck Siphon on them, run at them and hit them, and you'll do a lot of damage. And then there's a few examples here where if I get caught out of position or if I get ganked or something, you can actually fight heroes in a lot of situations where I think most people would, well not most, but a lot of people would just run away. And yeah, you can turn around these ganks So this is a Bane who I thought these were both just illusions, but I hadn't actually had anyone do this to me before. He was actually, one of them was actually him, and one of them was just an illusion he brought along. So he outplayed me, well done, but then I just killed the Pudge. And I'm healing up the whole time, so I mean, I wouldn't have run away in that situation, so it was either fight or die. And I managed to kill the Pudge and live, and then heal up with my bottle and stuff, so all works out well. Here's another just example of an easy kill. That's so you can get Crypt Swarm off. Try to use your Crypt Swarm to get a last hit and harass the enemy here at the same time. Same sort of concept as with Lena. This is just an easy kill that I can get. Invokers seem to... I don't think I've lost mid to an Invoker yet. Sometimes if they're good enough I'll trade farm with them, but I think she's a really strong sort of counter pick to Invoker. Especially mid game with the silence and stuff. This is just a kill that I go for in the early laning phase. Once I got my ult, I went it at level 6, and just a reminder to keep right clicked on the hero, because I run past the tower and the creeps here, all of which my ulti could have targeted, but I right clicked them on the Pudge and made sure that he died. So it's just important to keep in mind, and then just clear out the wave. And I'm creating a lot of pressure here and space on my team, and this Ursa thinks that he can get a free kill, but a lot of people don't really still understand Death Prophet very well, and I think that's why you can get away with stuff like this. And he TP's in, and I can just kite him and get an easy kill. Yeah. So in the mid game, you can pick up runes and go for kills a lot. You don't actually have to just sit there and farm the lane a lot like you do with the Windrunner or something. You can, if you pick up a haste or an invis or something like that, you can go for get an early skill point in your ultimate and go for kills like this. I probably could have gone the Invoker mid there, but I ended up getting him anyway, because again, he doesn't seem to understand how Death Prophet works, and I'm sort of using that to my advantage. Like, these aren't all rubbish players. Like, I'm playing in sort of 5k, high 4k bracket. Yeah, people just seem to not understand it very well. So this is another example of a haste ring kill. This is even pre-6. I don't play it like particularly well, but you'll see how effective it is. The Spirit Siphon's disgusting, so I'm just trying to dodge stuns there. Get a pick off on the lion, and then go back like I'm leaving, and then loop back around to go down and kill the pirate as I hit 6. Just drop my ulti. What I should have done here is actually just clicked in the trees. I click too far down and it turns my hero backwards, and then I get hit by the torrent. But my little dudes are searching him out, as I was saying. It finds them through fog, so I saw he was over to the left there, and I chased him around. Found him, and pick up the kill on the lion as well. So not only can you have a good impact on the mid lane with this hero and win your lane, but it's actually you can quite easily do stuff like this and just take over the game. If you win your lane mid pretty well and then crush the safe lane like that, it's just really hard for them to come back from. This is an example of double spamming out the wave. So you go up early to the tower, throw up a Crypt Swarm, and then it's on cooldown again by the time they're in the middle of the lane, and you can use that to push the wave out and then take an early tower. If you don't go ganking, then you want to be having a similar focus to a Windrunner or an Invoker who just wants to take an early tower. Quasi-Exalt Invoker anyway, who wants to take tower early in the laning phase, and sometimes you can achieve that by yourself with your first ultimate. And I tank way a bit too much damage here. I'm just trying to not let him deny it, which is a bit greedy, but I end up getting it. And I heal up off a creep, which is something to remember that you can do. You can heal up off creeps and neutrals if you need to, because I knew I was going to go back to base after that anyway. I just wanted to live. This is an example of taking the tower with my team. So you want to be looking for early objectives, whether that's by yourself or with the team. I think I went for a few ganks this game. No, anyway, I just haven't managed to get the tower early enough. So my team's come, and we've got quite a pushy lineup. But it's just really hard for them to fight into this hero. If you've got your ultimate going, it's just terrifying for like a bounty hunter to try to pop out and do anything to you. So this is sort of the more mid-game stuff. You can still do the same thing with runes. You can look for easy kills with invis runes, haste runes, that sort of thing. You don't have to just be playing for towers all the time, but you can look for these pick-offs, and then which are made much easier by your Spirit Siphon. The old Death Prophet had much less of this ability, I think. But with a new spell, you're much more capable of getting these kind of pick-off kills. And then you can transition these pickoffs into objectives, which is your main thing you want to be doing with Deep Pro, like we took mid tower there. Here I'm using Silence to get an easy kill on Invoker. I mean, he may have been able to combo the Miko there, but again, just looking for early pickoffs, looking for pickoffs and transitioning them into objectives. This is just an example of Aetherlens, like that Silence and Spirit Siphon I got there were quite long range, and then that Yule's, if you saw, was at max range as well, so just showing part of why I like Aether Lens on this hero, which I've already talked about. That's just an example of it. There's another haste rune. Runes are super good on this hero. I got my whole team around me, except for the gyro, but I pop my ulti and go for an aggressive play here. I tried to siphon the Doom to sort of get him in as well. I use him so I don't get. I try to dodge the stun. I didn't want to get Savage Roared there. I keep confusing it with how Stone turns. I try to silence the Doom so he doesn't doom me here, but turns out he actually hadn't skilled it, which I was a bit confused about. But he hadn't turned on me to start casting, so I was just ready to cast my silence as soon as he turned around, but he didn't. So played a little bit overly aggressive there potentially, but it worked out. And my exorcism's ending here, so I'm going to heal up. So it's fine, and I get my Yules off. I've got good support to clean up the rest of these kills. So, and then we transition that into a tower as well. So the Death Prophet's just so terrifying in these mid-game team fights. Just the ulti lasts so long, and there's another example of stuffing Invoker's combo. He was trying to Yules combo Necro, and I just get an easy silence off on him. The Invoker does die here, but it's just Spirit Siphoning, Spirit Siphoning, Spirit Siphoning. Just keep using that stuff. My ulti is ended here, but yeah. So this is some of the late game, which I don't have a lot of clips of, because not many of the games tend to go that late. But we were behind in this game, and this is just showing again the scariness of Death Prophet in team fights and the sort of utility of his silence. It's just pretty terrifying to go high ground against, but if you have to be careful about when you use your ultimate, because if you use it when they're not committed to the fight, they can just back off and then they can just take the tower without much fight from you. This game, same one, we're behind by 15k, but this is just an example of not giving up basically. I used it at a poor time there obviously, but you can win these games from behind a lot of the time if you don't give up, keep fighting. It's another just kiting Ursa again with my Spirit Siphon. He gets entangled, but you just spam out the waves with your Crypt Swarm, wait for them to commit and then use your ultimate, and try not get picked off early. Here's another example of the hero that that Depro is really good against, just cancelled a Bane ulti. I mean, she hit the hero is dead anyway, but even at the long range ones, you can stop as well. Here I've just showing with Octarine how quickly you can double nuke down a wave. It's a really good wave clear for high ground defense. So yeah, it makes her quite a hard hero to go uphill against. This is just showing how useful having this kind of move speed on a hero is. You can really chase down heroes, but I get shackled here. Like I got Tusk helping me out, I managed to get my Yules off before I get ultied, and he misses his hook, but yeah, get silence off so he can't ult, wave him so he can't blink out. But what I'm trying to show here more so is with Skadi. I mean, I should have silenced there, but I think I couldn't quite do it in time. But yeah, it's just with Spirit Siphon and Skadi, they can just barely move. I run out of charges there, but yeah, I can just kite these heroes forever and they can't get away. And then this is just what you want to be looking for towards the mid game. If you're winning, you've taken all your towers and you're looking to go high ground, you just push all the lanes out. Go for Roshan, just standard stuff. Get Rosh, and sorry for the stuttery video, and sort of transition that into a high ground push. I don't actually take the Aegis here, it's on a Jug because he's the better sort of tower sieger, but I'm pretty sure it's on the Jug. But yeah, you can just pop your ultimate and go for these Braxes, and if you get the Raxes and your ultimate's ending, then you can just look to back out. But if they want to defend them, then they have to fight into your ultimate. So don't hang around for too long after your ulti expires if you don't get the Rax, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, just look how much utility you have in these fights. I don't think I really needed to heal myself there, but they go for a swap in here. I just get a double, get silence off, get double Spirit Siphon. It's just they can't do follow-up stuns. The silence is just disgusting. I don't know. This hero is so disruptive in team fights. But yeah, another easy win. Hey, I'd just like to thank you guys for watching if you made it to this point in the video. This is my first time having a go at this sort of thing, so sorry it's not that professionally done, but I did try my best and I'm learning here. And if this was helpful to you, I'd appreciate a like. Cheers guys.